Welcome back to AI for Founders. I'm Ryan Estes. What happens when your most reliable teammate isn't an app? It's a voice that calls you at exactly the right moment. Today, we're meeting the founders of Commitify, an AI accountability coach with personalities like Life Coach, Zen Master, Slay Bestie, Hype Beast, Drill Sergeant, and CEO that literally ring your phone to snap you back into flow. The tension: real friends have boundaries and bias. Therapists have calendars and copays, and apps drown in notifications. Commitify bets the future is UI-less voice with long-term memory that feels like a friend and works like a coach. In this episode, you'll learn why they chose phone calls over screens, how they design agent personas that motivate without being cringy, what memories should and shouldn't remember, the wild origin story, a 100-hour hackathon sprint, pricing by calls per week, and how they're hunting for true ICP before scaling. This one's for founders, builders, and product people who want big retention with small surfaces, and anyone exploring AI that actually changes behavior, not just creates content. Let's get into it. And if you like founders shipping weird, useful AI that bends behavior, you'll love the field notes at aiforfounders.co. This is a newsletter back channel for experiments, playbooks, and the "we tried it so you don't have to" kind of reports. Join the newsletter and upgrade your luck surface area at aiforfounders.co. If this episode sparked an idea, drop us a 5-star review like you're shipping it to production on a Friday. And it actually works. This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster, the easiest way for founders and execs to get booked on top podcasts. If you've got a story, a launch, or a category you're shaping, Kitcaster turns that into steady drumbeat of interviews on shows your buyers already binge. No cold outreach, no guessing, just research targets, host-ready briefs, and interviews that compound into SEO, social clips, and sales conversations. Our team preps you with tailored talking points, pulls the receipts from your case studies, and lands you on the right shows at the right time, so every appearance drives awareness, pipeline, or recruiting. Whether you're pre-seed or public, one tour with Kitcaster beats 1,000 cold emails. Ready to turn conversations into conversions? Visit kitcaster.com and tell them AI for Founders sent you. That's Kitcaster by Moburst. All right, what's up, everybody? Mehdi, guys, did I say it right?
It's close enough. It's close enough. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Well,
Good to be here. Thank you
for inviting us. Excited.
Absolutely. Now, I'm really excited about your product because it looks really cool, and I've got a lot of takes on this kind of product. So before we get into the conversation, introduce the audience here to Commitify.
Well,
Yeah.
you want to
go
go
ahead,
first,
Mehdi.
guys? Yeah, so I do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So Commitify is like an AI coach that adjusts to what you need, and whatever it is, like you need some commitment help, or you might need some reflection help, or just someone to talk to during the day. Commitify is there for you.
Love it. So essentially, and what I like about this is everything takes place over the phone. So you have a series of different personas. Some might call them agents, but it looks like friends. It looks like these are kind of AI friends. And depending on how you're feeling, you can call one of them or they can call you. And basically they're giving you, I don't know, pep talks, advice. It seems like they're just like that cool person that doesn't exist in your life, but now they do. So the personas are Life Coach, you got Zen Master, Slay Bestie, Hype Beast, Drill Sergeant, and CEO. So, and it's a really interesting concept because, first off, I would be curious why you decided to create a product like this.
Yeah, that's maybe for me. We were like, I was just one night, I was laying in bed, I was thinking, so what do I need? What helps me, And then I realized, like, okay, whenever a friend of me calls me on the right time, I realize, wait, I was doing this. So I can be a person with a lot of things I find interesting. So at some point when someone calls me and they ask, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, wait, I was doing this. Instead of maybe distracted or something or building a new product, I was like, wait, focus. And then I thought, what if we automate this activity of someone calling to you? Because if you make it by AI, it can be there for you 24/7, and that's the power of this tool. It adjusts to what you need, and based on what you need, you get it.
I love it. Is that to say there's something wrong with our friends? You know, like why wouldn't we just call a friend?
Well, of course, a friend that calls you is amazing, um, but it's a friend of you, so you have to respect their boundaries. And if you ask them to call you 25 times in a day, whatever time you want them to call you, if you need a call at 3 in the morning, or at 7 in the morning, or one at 11 in the evening, it's friendship. So you expect things, but it's also there needs to be a balance. And with Commitify, it's a friend who's always there for you. Doesn't matter what the time is, it will adjust based on what you need.
Yeah. It isn't the problem with friends too that if you really need them, you really have a specific question, maybe they'll be there for you, but then you got to sit through their question and their thing. It can never just be like, hey, man, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me with this? They're like, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I've had a worse time. So now you got to listen to my, oh, it's like, oh, no. Oh, no, it's a double-sided knife. Okay, I get it. You know, so like with this, what's kind of interesting is that it's all about me. You know what I mean? I don't have to listen to the AI's interpretation of, or I don't have to hear about their problems. It's all about my problems. And perhaps that was the promise of like a therapist would be there for, right? Is the therapist could be there to help guide you through your things without any commitment. There's a very like clear kind of exchange. I give you cash for time. You listen to my sorrows. If you can help walk me through this, great. If not, then we'll keep it moving or we'll push to the next one. But it seems like this, although it's not kind of like specifically looking to be a therapist. It looks like it is really trying to be kind of like a good friend, you know, maybe like that wise friend you wish you had.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
all my friends. First of that, like all my friends, I appreciate them 100%. And this product is not created because of I'm really happy for all my friends, and but this product is just there to give you what you need at whatever time that it is, and that's not a friendship relation because you have to adjust to the other person in a friendship, and that's important. But with Commitify, it will always give you what you want and at any time you want it, and that is a very different than a friend, but it still feels like a friend. That's what we're trying to create here.
So cool. And I wonder too, you know, the very beginning of GPT, what was that, 22? I started playing with it and talking to it. I was like, this is cool, but like, I don't really like the attitude. I think that there's been a lot of like criticism about GPT because it's kind of too sycophantic, you know, it's too complimentary. It's like, I don't want this. So what I would do is I would start saying like, okay, if I am talking to Derek, these are the attributes I want from Derek. Boom, 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 boom. And then if I'm talking to Steven, these are the attributes I want. So what I was doing is kind of trying to figure out like how to create individual personas to get what I want very similarly to what you've built. Now, the problem was it wasn't great about remembering who it was or like how to respond in a certain way. So if I'm asking to talk to Derek, it'd just be like normal. I'd be like, it stinks. And every once in a while, I'll go back and check and be like, what can you tell me about Derek? And it'll like regurgitate some of the attributes that, you know, 3 years ago I put on it. So I'm like, okay, it's operating in there somewhere. So with Commitify, if I'm talking to Slay Bestie, because that's the kind of energy I need this morning, you know, is Slay Bestie going to remember the conversation so that when I come back to it, we can kind of pick up like an old friend? I mean, oftentimes the way that I consider a true friend is like I might not see him for 5 years, but the second I see him, it's like, oh, what's up, man? It's right back to where you were. Is it right back to where you were with this team now? How's the memory?
Yeah, so memory is built into the product. So basically exactly in the way that you're describing it right now. It's definitely something we need to tweak a little bit still, right? Because, as opposed to humans who can kind of see memory in the context of today's day, like an AI agent may not do this. So they maybe have like a memory about something that isn't really relevant anymore a week later, but still because, okay, it was in their memory somewhere, they may bring it up basically. So to really make the memory feel more natural to interact with, it's still something we're working on, I would say. But of course, the concept of adding all the past conversations to the context window and the memory of the AI, it's quite of a straightforward thing. And it's something that we do to create this idea of memory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's only going to get better, right? I mean, this is going to be absolutely common to the point that, like, you know, the teddy bear that you're going to put in your brand new born baby's crib is obviously going to have AI in it, and it will learn the habits, and it'll learn the sounds, it'll learn everything about your baby, and it will grow with the child. You know, so at some point, you know, it's not a little baby bear anymore. Maybe it's a blankie, but it's still it's learning, you know. So by the time the kid is walking, it can coach it. By the time it's in school, it knows how to like how to tutor your child just totally based on who they are. So like this idea of an AI friend is just in its infancy, but truly we are going to create like a relationship with AI that will span our entire life, that will know us better than ourselves, that will have a photographic memory of every instance of our entire life because it'll be with us forever. Whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
That's what's coming, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like a lot of companies now are looking for the exact UX or form factor to kind of bring this, what you are describing, right? So that can either be a teddy bear or it can be ChatGPT or it can be a wearable. Okay, what we are playing around with is a cellular phone call that you can ideally, you know, you get it every day at 9 a.m. or every day at 5 p.m., for example. And indeed, like the real value or one of the ways that it could provide real value is indeed that it has a very long-term memory about everything that you ever discussed with it. And it can reason based on that memory. But of course, on top of that, there's other values to it as well. Like, okay, it can, you know, interact with you, like talk through your problems, etc. Memory is just one part, of course, of the product that we're building right now.
And I'm really interested on why you decided on the phone. And actually, I really like it because I feel like the human-computer interface is going to change radically in the next 4 or 5 years. I think probably all of us are a little bored with rectangles, glowing rectangles. You know, I remember taking a lot of phone calls and it was great because I would walk around the park or I'd pace around. But now, you know, at post-COVID, everyone's on Zoom. So now you got to sit down, you got to look at my stupid face and I can't like be distracted, you know, and like walk. There's something like, I would say, romantic about a phone call because you can kind of imagine the other person. It's not necessarily you have to see them sitting there. You know, so why did you decide to make this a phone chatbot as opposed to like something more interact or visual on the screen?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons was because no one really, that's maybe one of the most interesting things about it as well. Like no one really does work with like cellular interactions, you know, with AI. Of course, there's like companies that do like, I don't know, customer service and stuff. Like if the person reaches out through the phone to a certain company, like an AI can pick up, but we've not seen it yet the other way around. Like a lot of people that do AI products that you interact with through voice kind of work with like this, like glowing blurbs indeed, or like, you know, like apps. We think the phone makes a lot of sense because it basically is like the how do you say it? Like the UX that everyone is used to. Like it's the UX that has been around since 30 years plus ago already, right? So everyone from your grandma to like a young generation would know how to use a phone. Interestingly, the phones themselves, like the iPhones, the iOS is on these phones, they are also optimized for phone call, right? So because the AI reaches out through phone, you can add voicemail, like ringtones to it. You can, you know, it will respond to silent mode. It can leave voicemails, etc. These are all things that are not built or optimized natively for, for example, standard apps on your phone. So that's, one of the interesting things about using the phone route. At the same time, of course, it's like an experiment for us, right? Like, is indeed the phone the most interesting way to interact with AI, or does it end up being more interesting to just have like an app on the phone instead of the cellular phone call? It's something that we're finding out along the way.
I think also the most beautiful thing is with a phone call, you can. So I think that right now there's so much UI importance. But what if we don't need UI? It's like it's just something there and it just knows you and adjusts to you. That's like the vision that there is no UI needed. Because if there's no UI needed, then it will just go. You just set it up one time. That's the vision. You set it up one time and then you just never have to open a browser or open an app again. It'll just call you and just based on what you say, based on what you do, maybe we'll add more integrations with other systems, then it will even know that what kind of things you want. Like let's say your Google Calendar. And with that information, you can completely drop the app at all. That's new. No one does that. So that's why we're thinking this space.
I love it. You know, they say that like audio is a warm medium and video is a cool medium. You know, so there's something like that brings you closer about audio, and there's something that gets you off the computer. I really like it. Now let's talk about these personas you developed. What kind of like decision making did it come down to why you decided on these specific characters?
Yeah, so I think like maybe to give the full context, it's also like an interesting story. Like we started building this product during a hackathon actually
Cool.
a few months ago, and the goal of this hackathon was, or like the requirements were either make money within the first 100 hours of the start of the hackathon, or become the most viral product basically. So if you wanted to win, you needed to either go viral or make money. So this was a 100-hour sprint, and basically in the Monday morning, so the very first morning of the hackathon, Maddie pitched the idea of, okay, let's do AIs that call your phone to do check-ins. And then once we set on that idea, we needed to think about, okay, how is this gonna, produce virality in one way, shape, or form? And of course, a way to do that is to make an AI that's funny or relatable. For example, like your favorite one, the sleigh bestie, or maybe the drill sergeant if you need that extra military push. So yeah, quite frankly, we just started brainstorming on these types like very quickly. So we wanted two types that were more appealing to Gen Z. So that would be like sleigh bestie and hype beast, and then a few more generic ones like the drill sergeant and the CEO. And then we also wanted to have one that's a bit more serious, which would be the life coach for if people wanted to use it in a more, natural interaction as opposed to, kind of communicating with a meme, so to speak. But we just came up with it like in a very short time span, basically. Yeah. And the idea was, okay, it's easy to build content around these types. And I think like in general, like if you're doing consumer AI, and you want to, distribute quickly, then the virality is a good way to go. So if you can build it into your agent types or, the way your AI talks, it's definitely an interesting approach.
Yeah. Carl Jung talked about it kind of famously of like all these different elements in our psyche, that like we're kind of an amalgamation of all these different personas, or like they have he's got like 12 kind of archetypes, personality archetypes, and all of them coexist and kind of emerge at different times for different reasons. So it's interesting when I'm thinking about this product, it's like, no, actually the characters that they're pulling out are actually going to be characters that I want to be personified in me. Like there is a time when you need that drill sergeant, it's for me, it's getting my ass out of bed at 6:30 in the morning. It's not going to happen. Now, for me, and maybe other people relate to that, usually it's a lot of really negative self-talk. That drill sergeant is really mean and like says horrific things to me in my own head that I'm like, all right. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go do some push-ups, whatever. So the opportunity is to like create a true voice of the drill sergeant that's not that mean, that could call you and be like, hey, buddy, these are your goals. You already planned it out. These are the things you asked me to say. In the future, I can see if I'm listening to a podcast, I can be like, okay, drill sergeant, I want you to remember this. This is good stuff. And it's just like, Goggins going bananas for 30 seconds. I'm like, give me this Goggins speech tomorrow morning. I need to hear it. And he's like, got you. So he can call you. So there's an element of like what you're building has this like very kind of this pedigree of psychology where you're emerging multiple people from our own subconscious. Now, it seems like the challenge is if you really start to develop these personas, the one that kind of sticks out in Jungian psychology would be like the lover. Now, ultimately, we know that half the bandwidth of the internet is porn at any given time. You know what I mean? Like it people don't talk about it because it's not necessarily polite conversation, but like the demand for porn in those kind of relationships is so great that people are going to be like having conversations immediately. They're going to start testing the boundaries of like, how can I make this a little more risque? Like, how naughty can this conversation get? You know, so everything would probably devolve ultimately down to the lover. So when you're thinking about that, what kind of parameters, whether that's like sexual fantasy talk or kind of violent ideation or self-harm, you know, when you're creating an AI persona, there's already documented cases of people going completely off the rails. So how do you kind of put protections in there to not allow conversations to get into that terrain? Okay, I've got a confession. As a podcaster and founder, I'm constantly meeting incredible people, guests, listeners, or other entrepreneurs. But here's my little secret. I'm terrible at following up. My inbox is basically a graveyard of missed opportunities. Does that sound like you? You meet someone amazing, exchange emails, have great intentions, and then life happens. 6 months later, you're kicking yourself thinking, I should have stayed in touch with that person. This is exactly why I started using warmstart.ai. And honestly, it's transformed how I think about my network. Instead of letting relationships go cold, Warmstart analyzes my existing contacts and helps me identify who I should be reaching out to and why. It even writes the outreach messages for me. But here's the key. I review everything before it goes out. I'm not just talking about this because they're a sponsor. I'm talking about it because watching a healthcare executive use this to build his entire advisory board in one weekend with 4 CEO signups made me realize I was leaving money on the table every single day. Your network is your net worth, but only if you actually nurture it. Check out warmstart.ai, use code AIFF to get $50 off your first month. Stop letting your relationships turn into missed revenue. Now, you and I know startups aren't built in boardrooms. They're built in the wild, during 3 a.m. bug fixes, botched launches, and that one meeting where everything almost fall apart. That's what Code Story is all about. It's a podcast where tech founders break down the make or break moments behind their products, what went wrong, what went right, and what nearly wrecked everything. Hosted by Noah Labhart, Code Story goes past the highlight reel and into the honest stuff. Late pivots, brutal bugs, and somehow coming out alive with a product people actually love. If you're in the build stage, or the scale stage, or the please let this feature work stage, I can relate. This show will speak to your soul. Listen to Code Story at codestory.co or wherever you get your podcast. Just search Code Story. It'll be right at the top. Because great startups aren't born, they're forged one hard moment at a time. Codestory.co.
Yeah, so my take is, and maybe you can add to it if you have a different take, but I believe since we're using like the standard foundational models, right? So either Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. Like we can choose one of the foundational models for our AI text generation. We're basically adhering to their boundaries as well. And I believe if you want to, go off, want to go too far, talk to ChatGPT, it won't allow you to do it because I don't know, it will say it's obscene or whatever. So thereby we're kind of naturally, it's already built into the system because it's built into the foundational models that we're using.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about foundational models. What are you using to make it?
Well, first I want to ask you a question before we go into that. Like, what kind of things would you like to use an AI that calls you on your phone? Like, what kind of dimensions would you think you would feel helped, or in a certain way, like, where would you see yourself wanting to grow together with an AI with?
Boy, in all ways. So let's say we flash forward 5 years and my AirPods are just now just like, surgically implanted into my ear. And so I can have, anything at any time that I want. And I want my AI persona to be tuned in. Now, I like this. I like what you're doing to create multiple people. Like I said, I was kind of already trying to do that. I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, I'm trying to think of the negative sides. And of course, there's always going to be cases of like, oh, somebody fell in love with their life coach and they jumped off a cliff. It's like, yeah, well, people eat freaking chair cushions. People eat balloons. Like, what are you going to do? You think it's AI's fault if people eat balloons? I don't think so. I think for most of us, it's going to be like this unbelievable learning experience and growth opportunity to have these personas. So if I'm thinking about it, like how would I need help? I would like it to be recording everything, everybody at all times. So let's say in 6 years, you know, Mehdi, you and I somehow cross paths in New York City, and someone would be like, "Hey, remember that podcast you did? You don't. Here's a snippet of it." Well, there's Mehdi over there. He made $2 billion with Commitify. It became actually me. You should go say what's up. And then I could go dap you up. And while I'm walking over, it recognizes me. And it's like, that's Ryan Estes. You guys had a conversation about XYZ. Boom. You know, I think the opportunity to enhance our memory, you know, give it 100x, you know, and that's not to say that our actual biology is going to be affected, but rather now we have data centers that are storing every single moment of our lives that will be able to enrich every experience and show connections if you want to, you know? So you have that going, you know, perhaps it has the ability to then coerce you or talk you into or out of decisions that maybe are not so good. You know, we're always kind of forced with, I think, ethical quandaries, if whether it's like with our personal relationships or in business, that if you have someone who's non-biased, that has the wisdom of a 10x human, smarter than you, might be able to see the future, maybe isn't as, you know, persuaded by money or persuaded in the case of like, let's say a therapist is always going to want you keep coming back, right? You know, or if you're talking to a friend, maybe they have a personal stake, an emotional stake in that the relationship you're talking about. So they're going to try and persuade you in a certain way. It seems like there's an opportunity here for kind of like less bias in a decision-making process when you can talk people through kind of potential outcomes. So, I mean, that's just like a kind of a way I would think about using it, you know, which I suppose is a little bit intense because it's not real. I'm not talking about entertainment, you know, like I'm talking about like, how is this going to help me in my life?
Yeah, interesting. Like, there's like a very interesting topic you're touch right now because is there a limit in what's possible? I think there's the possibilities are limitless, and they are so big that anything is really possible in this field. And we are here at a really early stage in this field because this topic of AI voices that sounds so great that it's almost human and natural. That's so new, and we are really seeing the space develop such a way that we are here together with you by talking about this to shape the future of this, how it will grow towards. And that's fascinating by itself. And I think, of course, it's we also have to really value the human connection. So I think also, well, there's like a space for this. So at one you have human connection where you're talking with other humans, but at one time you also have like AI connection where you're talking with AIs. And there's like this balance that we have to see what is what's the right balance, and no one knows, and that's the cool thing as well.
Yeah. So, you know, if we're thinking about a tech stack, what you guys used to build, it's like GPT 11 Labs, AWS. Is that the basic configuration?
Mm. There's like it doesn't really matter. Like we can choose anything. So open source is also possible. 11 Labs is possible. It's just based on what is best at that point in time. We pick, and that allows us to be super adaptive, and also not too rigid, but that's also important. Be flexible and be able to swap out components when you need it.
Yeah, totally. And characters, you know, because this also reminds me of like the classic cartoons. Like there's like a devil on your shoulder and an angel on your shoulder, and they're both talking and telling you information. You ever seen that in cartoons? Because then you could just think about, you could do like, okay, like I want to have Jesus, Moses, Abraham, David, and Solomon. Those are the characters I want. And it's like, hey, my predicament is like, I really need to go to my kid's football game, but also my boss has called me in for a meeting. And you're like, all right, you guys work it out and then give me your response. And then Abraham, David, all these people can like then chime in like, hey, here's what I would do. And you're like, oh, In this case, I kind of agree with Solomon. So thank you, Solomon. I'm going to go with your way. These characters become like the real IP, that the characters become the important part. Being first to market with a product like this is really important because you're going to get to know the person. You're going to understand the texture of their voice and you're going to want the texture of their voice. For example, I don't know what it was 12 months ago or something. The Siri voice changed from a lady to a guy. And now I'm like, who is this new Siri? I just don't like it. I'm like, I want the old Siri back because I had bonded with her terrible directions, giving me, maps directions. So, getting this right, I think is really important. So, because people are going to connect with it early. So let's talk about the business a little bit. Now, you guys launched for a hackathon, which is awesome. From that point till now, like how much have you sought investment? Have you guys bootstrapped it? How much have you spent on the project?
Yeah, so far we've basically completely bootstrapped it.
Beautiful.
So the like Maddie and I have, this was both started as a side project, or the hackathon itself also was just like as a fun little thing to do. And then, we actually got some organic traction. Like there was, for example, one completely random guy somewhere in the US that found the Commitify product through a Grok search because he searched for, I want to have like an AI call agent that, calls me and keeps you on track, something like that. And then Grok, maybe based on Twitter posts that we posted during the hackathon or LinkedIn, proposed to look at Commitify. So this guy made an account. So 2 weeks after the hackathon, basically, we suddenly, or Maddie, checked the Stripe balance or whatever, and suddenly saw like, yo, someone is paying for the product. And we actually we kind of, moved on already from it. But then we saw someone paid for it, and then we're like, okay, actually, we should kind of see how we can develop this a bit more. Somewhat still in a side project setup, I would say. But in the evenings, basically, we started working on, optimizing the product. And we kind of worked towards doing a product hunt launch. And that's a launch that we did, I guess, 2 months after the hackathon. And that was very well received as well. So we ended the day on the 3rd spot. And that, of course, gives, a fair amount of organic users that will check out your product, onboard on the platform, etc. So yeah, that's basically what has been going on over the past few weeks and months. We have been talking to some PCs, but more like exploratory, because we still are kind of deciding like which way we want to take it in general, I would say. And on top of that, we're still also trying to figure out more who actually are the people that, are the big users of our product. Yeah, who is our ideal customer profile or ICP? So we're a bit more in the customer discovery phase, I would say, calling our customers, asking about their experience with the product, why they stopped using it after one call, why they actually kept on using it, etc. We still need to find out a lot about our customers before we can really, decide on the direction that we want to take it. Yeah.
Cool. And you have a very interesting business model too. I'd love to hear how you kind of came to that. You have kind of 4 different pricing options where basically you're pricing it on calls per week. So it's like €375 is 3 calls a week, and then you have for €15, you get 21 calls per week. So how did you make the decision to go to actually like a calls per week model?
Yeah, so I would say like that we were kind of wanted to make it comparable to, for example, a coffee, because that's kind of what we were looking at. Okay, like it shouldn't cost more than a coffee per week, for example, to have your AI call you. Okay, so then let's say that the cheapest package is, not more than the amount that you spend per week on coffee. And okay, then we end up having it, doing it per week, because if it is per month, then the number sounded a bit too large. Again, these are kind of things that we kind of, decided on the fly during the hackathon. Like this is how these things sometimes go in startup, right? So we kind of rolled with it. Definitely something we may want to look into, right? Because the big drawback of a weekly subscription is that the payment is done every week as well. So it's kind of in your face. Like every week you see, okay, you're paying for something. Whereas if you do a yearly subscription, that's why companies do a yearly subscription, right? Because people pay it once and they forget about it. And the year after, they're probably going to forget about it again. Of course, like if you have a good product, it shouldn't matter either way. But these are all details that we still kind of need to think about. I don't know if you wanted to add something to that, Maddie.
Yeah, I think it feels most honest to me as well. If you pay something every week, people keep doing that, then they must find it valuable. And it also seems like we let me say it the right way. So a lot of companies have freemium models, so they just have 50 million euros and just throw away, try to take over the market. But we felt like let's just do something right from the start where people have to pay for it. So you get you get 3 calls free, and if you want to have it another time, you just get a week subscription and you can cancel it anytime. So in that way, it still feels like a small investment, but at the same time, you can just bootstrap it because it's also expensive to run these models, right? So in this way, you can bootstrap it by having a weekly subscription. It feels most honest. So that's why we also choose the weekly one.
Cool. And I love where you guys are at. It's like you launched a product, you're like, oh, that was cool. You find somebody who's paying for it, you're like, oh, let's give it some attention, bring it to market and like see what's going on. And it sounds like you're in this really kind of interesting like information gathering to see like where do we want to go with this product, So if you think about the next 12 months, what's on the roadmap?
Yeah, so I would say that the main goal at this point, let's say over the coming 3 months, is really defining this ICP. Like we want to ideally find like a handful of users. It can like maybe 10 people is already enough. Like a handful of users that love the product enough to use it as it is, without like any other tweaks or stuff. Like they just really love it the way it is. And these are the people that I think, have an opinion that weighs the heaviest on where we, which direction we need to go, which direction we need to take it, or which changes we need to make to the product. Because, as you know, with like a software product like this, we already have a list of like probably 100 things that we can think about that we can improve a little bit, but it will take way too much time to start working through it, right? So we really need we need some help with prioritizing which problems we're going to tackle first. And to do that, we just need to have, some ideal customers that have an opinion that we can actually value on this aspect. And the other thing, so that's more maybe on the side of building a product. The other thing, of course, about marketing and distribution. And again, we need these ICP customers for it because, okay, if, for example, all the people that love our products are all people that struggle with ADHD, for example, then our marketing is going to be ADHD focused. If it's all people that want to do their affirmations every morning at 9 a.m., okay, then we're going to do it completely different. We're going to work with influencers that, are big in the affirmation space or maybe more a spiritual space, maybe even, some people into Jungian psychology, for example, like who knows, that's like where the real interest is. So I guess for a lot of consumer, and I mean, in the end, all companies comes down to finding your ICP and build the product and the marketing strategy around these type of people. And we're still really looking for these people because that's actually a bit harder than you would think to find them. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a couple of questions early to ask, it's like, are we going to go serious? Like if we're going deep, then like charging on a weekly basis seems totally normal because you'd be like, wow, I really look forward to these 3 phone calls. It's really helping me in a deep way. Or you go novelty, you charge yearly and it's just something ridiculous and something fun to pop into your day, more entertainment wise, and then you're just like, oh, that was cool. It creates that little burst of joy in your day. So, and there's so much ground to like cover, if you want to go serious, there's so much opportunity because humans are in such a silly predicament. If you think about just relationships, what we are is kind of like a hairless, non-committal like ape that for some reason our culture and the technology has made us, have monogamous relationships, but we're not built to have monogamous relationships. So there's just innate built-in tension to our relationships, so like literally, like if there was one of these, one of the characters for a woman would just be like empathetic and want to listen to her day every day. How was your day? Was Nancy up to that again? You know, that must have been really hard, and just was like compassionate, empathetic, and just let her wind down from her day. It'd be amazing. And then on the counter side, for a man, you know, it'd be like just somebody who's like, "How's your day? Oh, that sucks. You're doing a great job." And it's just encouraging and just like reassuring the things that like we all kind of want, but oftentimes don't get from our partners because we're in a ridiculous situation that goes against our own biology. The fun thing is we know it. We know these biological things are in place, and so we can now create characters that would help us. So, you know, I love what you guys are doing. You know, these are big questions. This is a big problem to tackle, and you've done it so far in like a really cool way. I actually really like the characters you chose. I think they're like really smart.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Can we wrap it up? I need to go in a few minutes. So
Well, get out of here, man. I ain't holding you. I can talk to guys all day. No, we'll wrap it up. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on at least our website, commitify.me for sure. And also you can find me on LinkedIn, Medicreforst, or on Twitter, also Medicreforst.
Great. And we will link all that in the show notes. Guys, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. So commitify.me, it lists my full name there as well. So I don't, if people hear my name, they probably can't spell it. So you can see it on the website and then search that on LinkedIn, and you can shoot me a message or an invite. Yeah.
Tremendous. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you, Ryan. Have a good
Ryan.
Friday. Yeah.
Have a good day.
This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. MoBurst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, MoBurst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At MoBurst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, MoBurst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At MoBurst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to MoBurst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together. All right. Coffee is great, but coffee won't prep your meetings for you. It'll just keep you awake while you panic, hastily scrolling through LinkedIn at 6:59 a.m. Ambient, however, will prep your meetings. Each morning you get a founder-tuned briefing sourced overnight from your calendar, your meeting history, and the web. It's like walking into every call with a cheat sheet that you didn't have to write. No more scrambling, no more guessing, just context, confidence, and focus. And if you're raising money, Ambient investor dossiers are an absolute must-have. You'll know the investor's portfolio, their interests, and their latest moves before you even step into the room. You'll even get a heads up on red flags. Think of it as the caffeine upgrade that your calendar actually needs. Prep while you sleep, perform while you're awake. Sign up for free at ambient.us. Go check it out at ambient.us. That's ambient.us. Hey founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. Hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, Tune into the podcast and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter, move faster, think bolder with AI for founders. Now back to the show.